Exporting artboards. We'll start with an example of exporting style frames and/or storyboards for a client. Look at these 4 scenes we've already created in our storyboard. Since we need to send them to the client for approval, we have 2 options, depending on how your company sends the storyboards. The first option is to add a small box, white or black, underneath the script text we have for each scene to make it readable. Then we can save the document as a PDF. To save it as a PDF, we have to go to File, Save As. A new window will pop up, select Adobe PDF from the list, and click Save. On the next window, you can select the options you want Illustrator to take into consideration when creating a PDF. We'll be sending this one as an email. Therefore, we want to make sure that the file is as small as possible, so we need to change some of the options. For the general options, we'll go with these. Uncheck all of the options and check Optimize for Fast Web View. The other options, like compression on our left bar, won't be necessary for this example, as we are working with vector files. Compression is more relevant to bitmap or rasterized images. Remember that if you uncheck the Preserve Illustrator Editing Capabilities option, you might have issues when you try to open this PDF file again in Illustrator. Certain things could be broken, like text boxes for instance, so always keep the original Illustrator file. The second option for exporting artboards is as an image. These can be added to the storyboard format/presentation that the company uses to send to the client. To export the artboards as rasterized images, we need to go to File, Export, Export for Screens, or press Ctrl+Alt+E on our keyboard. This enables the Export for Screen window. In this window, we'll be able to see all of our artboards. Select the ones we want to export and even change their names if necessary. These 2 buttons at the bottom allow us to change how we see the artboards as a list or as a thumbnail gallery. To change the names of the artboards, we can simply click on the names and type into the box. The menu on the right gives us options of how and where we want to export our images. Once we're done selecting all the options and parameters, just click on the Export Artboards button and Illustrator will start the export process. Once it's done, Illustrator will open the folder where the files were created if you kept that option checked. Now that we've covered the export for style frames and storyboards, we'll talk about how we can export individual artboards from a single file with their layers into After Effects, as well as why it's better to work with artboards for our animation projects. For this part of the lesson, we'll work with a file that I've created and used before, as it has the artwork ready to be exported into After Effects. With our file open, all we need to do is go to File, Save As, and on the new window, select the Illustrator file type and click Save. Now, on our Illustrator Options window, we need to choose the Save Each Artboard to a Separate File and select the All option. Once you do this and click OK, Illustrator will do its magic and individually save the files for each artboard, as you can see here in my Explorer window. Now, you may be asking yourself, what is so great about working with artboards in this way? First, all the artboards we've created and exported are still linked to our main Illustrator file. This means that if we make any changes to any of the artboards in the main Illustrator file and save it, the exported artboards will be amended. This is very helpful when clients need to change the fonts or the colors on all of the artboards. We are able to quickly jump into our main file, make the necessary amendments, and then just export every artboard. If we've imported the files to After Effects already, all these files will be updated automatically in our After Effects project. Another great thing about working this way is that each artboard will be saved with the layers that have content on that artboard. This means that if we have a layer called Backgrounds, where we have all the backgrounds for each of our artboards, this layer will show up on all of our files. If we have a layer called Characters, and it only has contents on one of the artboards, that layer will only be visible on the file for that artboard. Again, this makes it super easy for us to manage our projects using a single Illustrator file, but there are a few things we need to consider when working with layers, so we'll touch on it in the next part of the lesson.